The disaster plan in last century was Titanic was the first terrorist attack ever happened in the world. If I tell you, Bin Laden has nothing to do with 9/11. So that's why if I tell you, Hitler has assigned the American company to manage the entire Holocaust, will you believe? You will not.
Very warm welcome to our platform.
Pleasure to be here.
Very proud of, very happy to have you here and proud of it. Vidya ji, I think actually we can go ahead with the introduction for Deepak ji.
Yes. Namaste and a very warm welcome to one and all. It is indeed a privilege to introduce our main speaker for today, Shri Deepak Karanjikar. Deepak ji, who hails from Mumbai, Maharashtra, is a multifaceted personality who wears several hats. He is a renowned management consultant, an accomplished actor, director, and socioeconomic expert, a profound orator, an avid traveler, a keynote speaker for various international seminars and events, a mentor for entrepreneurs in strategy, company vision, and global growth through a Gurukul concept of learning, a consultant for several organizations, both national and international, and a writer who has written several books, winning several awards. Deepak ji is the author of Ghat Sutra, which was written in Marathi and was translated to English by Dr. Neeta Deshpande. 2 more of his books are on the way. He has lived in 6 countries and traveled to more than 60 odd countries during the entire tenure of his bright, diversified career path. Deepak ji, being a professional of senior level of management and business consultation, he has a well-diversified working background spectrum. Globally, he has led cross-functional teams across Europe, Australia, USA, and Singapore for defining strategic vision on planning and execution of development models, developing business plans with cutting-edge technology for profitability and effectiveness, design and implementation of various programs for growth of self-sustaining organizations, merger and acquisition plans while working for security exchange authorities in the US of A, Commonwealth Rehabilitation Services in Australia. He has worked on study circles of international organizations like the United Nations. Deepak ji has carried out intense study and research as well as delivered lectures on the following topics at various national and international forums: Wall Street and its economic terrorism, global economy pitfalls, GDP, a decisive measure of progress, World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and their malice for developing countries, consumerism, curse or boon, Modinomics, demonetization, digital India, and Atmanirbhar Bharat, and many, many more topics. When Deepak ji returned to India in the last 1 decade, he took on several projects and positions. To name a few, the following are: being a member of the expert committee of Ministry of Culture, Government of India, independent director of Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, member of Governing Council for Sangeet Natak Academy, mentor for 40 plus entrepreneurs for strategy, visions, and growth, transformation coach for GE India, Honeywell, and Saint-Gobain India executives, and several more projects and positions. Currently, Deepak ji is the chairman of Finance and Program Committee for ICCR MEA, as well as a consultant for process and people utilization at the University Grants Commission, UGC. Due to paucity of time, Deepak ji, I'm not able to cover all your achievements. I'm not doing justice to you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's such an honor and such a pleasure to have you on this platform. The stage is all yours. Thank you, Ravi. Over to you, Deepak.
Thank you.
Once you are presented, let me know. We will open it up for questions.
Sure. Thank you very much, Vidya ji and Ravishankar ji, for doing this. It's a pleasure and honor for me to be on this platform of Satyameva Jayate. The tagline of the platform and the name of the platform itself is the motto of the life, what I written through Ghat Sutra. You will have to bring the truth to the people. They may not agree sometime. They may not like sometime. They may not completely, they may disregard that sometime. But still, you will have to keep bringing the truth as you are aware. I always see, or I always say also, that for a literate man, there is no choice of dying in not knowing. You can die in helplessness. But for a literate man who can read books, there is no choice of dying in not aware. So our job is to make people aware. So I'm very, very thankful to both of you for doing this for this book and for me, and it will be a great pleasure. My good morning on this Sunday to my audience, whoever has joined. I'm very grateful for your time on Sunday. I think it was Tuesday, 9/11/2001. The two planes, they crashed into World Trade Centers, South and North. And in half an hour, the entire United States of America, whose president was in Florida in a school, after the first attack or the first crash, he was informed, but he could not understand. He thought maybe some plane has hit it wrongly, got misdirected, or some GPS kind of issue, he thought. When the second plane hit, and I was in US that time, I was there itself. Second plane hit, he said he was very serious, and then he has issued an ordinance that all the planes in the United States airspace should be immediately landed. There were 5,634 planes in the sky that time in the United States airspace. And they were asked and ordered to ground immediately. And it could happen in 1.5 hours, that barring some 10-15 planes, all planes were grounded in the nearby airports. You must be knowing this, US has around 15,000 airports in the entire country. So it was a very crucial moment for all of us. And then third plane crash in the Pennsylvania, the fourth crash on Pentagon, and still they were finding their 5-6 planes were on the airspace. So the second ordinance came, the F-16 fire jets, they took off and they were ordered to smash the planes in the airspace itself if they are not listening to ground it. So this was a very crucial moment for US. It happened after the Pearl Harbor. 6 decades have gone in between. And United States was really shivering. As my book states, the detail of, how much lakh square feet and how much billions of dollars wasted in those 2 hours, that all details are in the book. But all this was happening, and I was sitting with my team member. I had a team in US. I had a lot of people reporting to me. And we were having meeting of finding out who's who in those planes, and, is everybody okay as per our employee, because I was a group director. So after that all meeting, the entire atmosphere was very depressing. A clueless kind of atmosphere. America is not, US is not, habitual to such kind of situations. It's a very programmatic way moving forward country. This is very, very big interruption for their daily life. And we were coming down from that meeting, I remember, and one of my friend who was American, he asked me a question that, can we grab some sandwich somewhere in Subway? Of course, the common person in US was as naive as anybody, as naive as anywhere in the world. There were hot dogs people are giving for free on the street. Everybody was consoling each other. So we went to a Subway, nearby Subway, park our cars, went there. I thought this was an opportunity for me to discuss with him, to listen to him, that how an ordinary American faces such kind of attacks, because it is not normal there. So I was very curious to talk to him. So I was very happy to go with him. But during that eating of half-eat sandwich of Subway, I could not speak a word, because it was very awkward for me to ask that, how are you feeling? That was would have been a very stupid question. And moreover, I was not able to find that gap, where I can push my question. So food was over. We both started leaving. He said, okay, take care. We go home. And I went to my car in the parking lot, and he just raised his hand. He said, can I come? And he just brought his car to nearby my car. And then he asked me, how much money you have? I said, sure. He said, around 100K. I said, yeah, I can find that. He said, no. I said, what we are going to do? Because I thought it's a nice way, if I'm working in that country and that country is attacked, and some of my American friend, who is a day-to-day friend, very naive, simple person, is asking me, so I'm raising some funds. I said, sure, I will gather that much. He said, but then I asked him a question, what we are going to do with that? And he said, I'm just going home now. I'll call a couple of other friends. We will raise around $1.5 million. And I will, when the Wall Street opens, I will buy the stock of the companies which make disaster recovery plans. And the moment Wall Street opens, those in a week, that stock will skyrocket and we can earn easily 4 times, 5 times of that investment. And he left. The car went off. I still remember looking at that car with a very unbelievable expression on my face. I said, how an ordinary American can think of such thing after this kind of terrorist attack? That was the triggering point of this book. And I was very curious. I was very disturbed. I was very, you can call it very depressed to see that how an ordinary American citizen think in the midst of such kind of attack. So I was, that curiosity came, it was started boiling in my mind that we have to go to this route, why people think this way. In India, if there was an attack in Red Fort or a parliament, and at the same time, if we try to, somebody try to encash that, we will be very, very angry. We will react to with a boiling blood, and we might kill somebody. But on the same week, this happened on Tuesday, and the Friday I seen on the street of New York, there were T-shirts were sold on the street. 2 World Trade Center towers were shown, and below that there was a line, United We Stand. So there was a product of the attack in the market in 5 days. So the commoditization of life, which was always a concern with me when I traveled to 50 plus countries in the world, it was always a concern that how the human life has become a commodity. Why we are not living as a life? Why the world has made this commodity? And this was a very big blow to that thought, and I started researching. But let me take you back 3 years back of that. It was an evening in San Francisco, and we were sitting in a pub, and I was talking with my German friend and a Swedish friend. Of course, they both were more friends than me, and I was sitting with them. And suddenly that German fellow started telling my Swedish friend that, Titanic, they sang the Titanic. So I just went there during those days after watching that Titanic romantic movie. So I was very curious what this guy is talking. I thought these Americans are such a gossiping people. They just keep on gossiping on everything. So I was very disturbed. I said, what is this guy is talking? So I started interrupting him. So he said, don't interrupt. Let me complete. After a lot of, he could see my face. He could see my body language, signs, and my all kind of, my eyes were rolling. And then he just took the piece of that tissue paper from the desk. He wrote, they read like this, right? He wrote books, the name of 3 books, and he gave the tissue paper to me and said, read these books. Then next time I come, finish the reading of these books, and then we'll talk. Then you will understand what I'm trying to say. So he was trying to make a point that Titanic was sung by someone with purpose, with a very big plan. So this happened 3 years before 2001, 9/11. When 9/11 happened, the incidents I just narrated, when that happened, it just got to my mind to find that piece of paper which somebody has given me 3 years back. Of course, when you travel in the US, you change your bags and laptop. But I could find that paper in my one of the laptop old bag. And I saved those books and I started getting those books. And then the entire thing got triggered. And then I kept on writing. I kept on reading, I kept on taking notes, and I kept on finding that there is a malice behind this. And, if you find something like that, I know, like most of the people who are listening to me right now, they will think these are all conspiracy theory. But to set your perception right in the beginning, I want to mention one thing. There is a documentary on Netflix called Titanic Was Sunk. And there is a conspiracy theory. The documentary has a tagline, there is a conspiracy theory on Titanic. The producer of that documentary is the same group of people who were responsible for Titanic sinking. So if I kill somebody, I do somebody's murder, and some third person is watching us, and then that third person kept on babbling on that Deepak has killed this man, Deepak has killed this man. Then what I will do, one day I'll get up and I'll shoot a documentary saying that there is a conspiracy theory that Deepak has killed this person. So whoever come next on the platform will only see that film and they will not even bother to listen to some theory of truth behind it. So Satyameva Jayate, when I say, is the right platform, because the truth behind that, it took me 7 years to find out the truth. I read 482 books. Out of that, 250 plus books were against what I have written in this book, because I wanted to have that balanced perspective. And then I came to know, then the incidents start flowing. And remember, after 3-4 years, I remember in my office, there used to be a very big, wall was a whiteboard. And I started plotting that 1910 to 1920, because Titanic was sunk in 1912. And then 20 to 30, all the decades columns. And then I started writing the incidences which I read books about. My reading started with those 3 books that gentleman has given me, given the names to me. And it ended at the 482nd book in 3 years. And then I started writing the incidences. And as a management theory, you have to ask 10 why to go to the root cause for anything, right? They say. You keep on asking why 10 times. Then you can reach to the real reason of that incident, or the root cause, what they call in management world. And surprisingly, this is the USB of this book. This is the IP of this book, which I already registered, that I link those incidences to the group of people. So this book has a 3-part. One is the chronology of events from 1912 to 2020, when we are all hit by COVID. So it is between 2 disasters of 2 centuries, and planned disaster, not calamities. The disaster plan in last century was Titanic was the first terrorist attack ever happened in the world, and COVID is another terrorist attack in a way. Terrorist attacks are not always related to bombs and guns and machine guns. They are not related to, landmines. They are related to some tools of economics. And COVID is a tool of that. It is a biological weapon. So these 2 attacks in 2 centuries, this book describes about 108 years of story. So I kept writing those things on the board. And then I can read that out, the entire chronology. The first thing was the Titanic was sunk. Then the First World War started. Then Russian Revolution, 1917. Then the Great Depression, 1930. Then the Second World War. The First World War agreement itself has roots of the Second World War. That all we have learned in the history. Both the wars were planned. I'm not saying they happened as per the plan. There were detours, of course. But somebody and some power, some invisible mafias, if they are planning world wars, you try to understand their imagination. You're known about the puppeteer games. I'm not talking about those puppets. I'm not talking about those strings. I'm not talking about the hands where the strings are attached. I'm talking about the brain behind these strings, behind the hands, and behind the puppeteer dance. What they are thinking. A piece of paper on a plain table they put, and then they plan the event called World War. And then they try to decide the parties, and then they trigger the events to make that war happen. You will feel like a film, but it is more, sometimes truth is very, very strange than the fiction. And truth surprises you more than the fiction. This exactly happened while writing this book to me. So what happened? Say First World War, Second World War, then happen after Second World War, that I'm not talking about the atom bomb in Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That was a reaction. But why Japan got into the war? What was the reason of Japan attacking Pearl Harbor? Then it comes to a Bretton Woods conference where 2 organizations took place. One is the World Bank, and second was this IMF, International Monetary Fund. And I call both of them as mafia organization. And I'm making very responsible statement. Don't think I'm just making some excitement. At this stage of life, I don't need to create any excitement. I'm enough popular. The issue is, these organizations have behaved in a way where a lot of countries' futures were ruined. And this I'm not saying. Joseph Stiglitz, the director on IMF, and he resigned. And he resigned in depression. And then he given a public speech, and I have a recording of that. And he said how the IMF operates. The standard program, application programs, which are called SAPs, standard aid programs, all that what the World Bank runs, they just ruin the country. because of the debts and because of, it is a matter of, it's a mechanism of debt. They are not helping you. They are taking whatever you have. And if you don't believe me, see the film called Rwanda. Rwanda is a miniature scale of India. The same tropical country with lot of a very nice pH value of the land, with several polylithic kind of living, polylithic field, means the crops, various crops they take. The complete agriculture of Rwanda is same with a miniature scale as India. And Rwanda, they given coffee, they are given vanilla as a cash crop for them. Then the prices collapsed on Wall Street or in French stock market, and nobody could buy that coffee, that vanilla, and then the riots started. Then the military came, then Americans supported, French military came, and all that country of 90 lakhs population, 10 lakhs people died in genocide. It is such a worst history. Rwanda film shows all that. And they all were aided by World Bank and IMF with their SAP, that programs, where they stop all the public utility services, including transport, education, health services, and they were all privatized. So that there come in 1956, a Bretton Woods conference, where all these organizations they were established, and of course the people who were behind it, I'll come to that end. Then the oil. The oil is the most slippery field in the world. You know, just try to imagine a situation. I produce a crop in my country, like say India produce basmati rice. And somebody will come one day and say that basmati rice price will be, the currency of transaction of selling basmati rice will be United States dollars, US dollar. I will ask the basic question, why? It's my crop. It's produced in my land. It's produced under my authority. It's producing in as my resources. And why I have to sell in somebody else's country's currency? But that exactly happened with oil. Oil is traded, if you don't know, only in dollars at the two centers. One is New York, second is London. And it is always traded in dollars. There is no other currency. Saddam was the person who wanted to sell in Indian rupees, in Bangladeshi takas, in dinars, in dirhams. And Saddam has gone. So this is an oil game which Nixon created, that he has fixed our currency, attached our currency to somebody's production, somebody's produce, somebody's product. That's why United States is running at the GDP of $21 trillion level, when the debt in the United States is on the same $21 trillion national debt. How this happened? And then people ask sometimes a naive question, why the dollar is so strong if that country has so much national debt? Because it is attached to the most transactional commodity called oil. And if the currency attached to a commodity which is very huge volume transaction, the currency will never fail. That's how the British pound. British is what UK has. Nothing. UK is even not bigger than the Tamil Nadu as a country, as a produce, as everything. Or Maharashtra, or Madhya Pradesh. But the entire maritime business or trade is tied up with Great British Pound. They have tied their currency of one country called United Kingdom to maritime business, and the other country called United States to oil. So these most highest transactional volumes are attached to the currencies. That's why they are floating. And they are making, because they wanted to make, why the World Bank came? They wanted to make a global currency for entire world. That's why the standard on gold, the currency printing on gold, a lot of people they are not even aware that from 1956, they have stopped gold standard. No country is printing currency based on gold standard. But the gold is again attached to dollar. That's another commodity which only traded in dollar in the world, on London, in the Rothschild Pier. There is a pillar, Rothschild Pillar in London, in the Rothschild House, where they decide at every morning 10 o'clock the price of gold for the world. These kind of monolithic societies, monolithic control, they have been established officially with a legal and complete framework of, what you call legal framework called World Bank and IMF. That came in 1956. Then the oil. After that, there are a lot of scams like .com and Y2K and all those scams happening on Wall Street. Then came 9/11. Then came Trump in power. Trump coming in power is also a planned disaster. Because in the primary of the election, that time I was in US. And George Bush's brother, Jeb Bush, was a candidate with Trump. They have the primary lines of candidates and then they get selected. And that's how the president nominee gets decided in the United States. So in that first primary in Florida, Donald Trump said that Jeb Bush is responsible for 9/11. And that's why, if you remember the headlines, Bush has withdrawn himself from the campaign of Republicans in that election. And Jeb Bush definitely, he withdrew his application as a candidate. But why Trump said that? Who was Trump? Trump was created. So all those people who were become monsters or who were become very giants or the organizations became very giant, they were seeded by some people thinking behind the screen. Those brains behind those puppeteer movements. They have decided for their benefit. And that is how it goes and then it comes to the COVID. So this is the chronology of events of last 108 years. And this is the one part of it. The second part of the book, the organization or the infrastructure, I call it, which they built to make these events happen. Like World Bank, like IMF, like Mossad, like CIA, like Council for Foreign Relations, like Bank of International Settlement, and like any other organizations which are operating globally on different names. The strings behind all these organizations are same people, same handful of people. So this is the second part, is the infrastructure they built to make this happen. And the third part is who are they? And they are the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and Morgans. And Dr. Henry Kissinger himself is the infrastructure. And George Bush family is itself an infrastructure, though it's a family. That's the only family which has, father and son were the president of the United States. There's one more family, but it was in 40s. So America, what happened? Rothschild, Mayer Amschel Rothschild, who is the, what you call in our language, the first person in Rothschild family who used to lend money to the people that time in Germany, who has built Rothschild house in Germany. He used to say, give me, and it's official statement on their wall there. I've seen myself, and you can also go and see in Germany. It says, give me a control of a currency of a country, and I care who is the president. So in between the Titanic and the First World War, there is one incident happened where the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States has become a private bank. See, tomorrow, somebody gives a control of is India's credit rates and currency printing to some bank like HDFC. What will happen? This exists like that arrangement in US for last since 1913. 1912, the Titanic was sunk. And in 1913, December 27, when half of the senators were absent, the half present, half of them were drunk, they passed the law of Federal Reserve Bank during Christmas holiday. This Federal Reserve Bank has a name of Federal Reserve Bank, but it is a private bank. It's a cartel of banks, cartel of financial institutions, which the institutions and the private banks, they are owned by the private group of people. So the Federal Reserve System of United States is the reason for disaster in the United States, is the reason of getting America towards their goal, like they took England. Bank of England in England is a private bank. Bank of France is a private bank. Deutsche Bank is a private bank. Bank of Netherlands is private bank. All these are private owned banks, though they called as country's central bank. So they print currency for that. In America, there are two presidents. One was, before the establishment of this bank, was Abraham Lincoln, who printed his own currency by the Treasury of the United States, and he got killed. And the second person in 1969 was John F. Kennedy, who printed the green bucks, which, in Lincoln time, they used to call it green bucks. So he printed the currency and he also got killed. And the person who took over after him was the Vice President Johnson, who took oath in Air Force One plane, the only president on the earth to take an oath in a plane in Dallas Airport, Texas. And he took oath, the plane took off, went to Washington, D.C., he reached to the office, and first thing he did, he took back the ordinance which Kennedy issued for printing the notes by the Treasury. This is the history. This is the fact. Now, why Kennedy killed? You can give a Cuba story. But for me, Kennedy was killed, the major reason was because he issued an ordinance. American president has that authority. He can overrule anything. He has veto over everything. So he said there is Federal Reserve Bank will not print the notes. The notes will be printed by American Treasury. And he printed $1 million note. Ordinance, I think 111001. The name of the number of the ordinance which Kennedy issued as the president. But he got killed. And then you can find a Larwood who killed him. And the Larwood got killed after 4 days. Na rahega baas, na bajegi basri. There was no proof that who killed, and the person who police pointed that he killed Kennedy, got also killed in the police custody. This can happen to a president of the United States. It can happen to anybody. And you know, American currency, there are a lot of people in India who are not even aware of this. And I'm not surprised. I'm not against them. It's okay. You can always have debate. You can always discussion. You have to disbelieve. It doesn't matter, because I traveled through that disbelief tunnel only for 7 years. And then now I got a conviction. I don't need to have belief and debate on this. I got a conviction. That's why I written. And I thought this has to be written. I could have written a fiction, but fiction will be nothing in front of this. You know, this is stranger than fiction. This is truth. That's what I written. So, you know, the person who still doubt that Federal Reserve is not a private bank, for them I will give one example. Books has many of them. What is written in Indian currency note? I promise to pay bearer of this rupees 100. Bearer of this note rupees 100. मैं धारक को 100 रुपए अदा करने का वचन देता हूँ. It's a promissory note, behind which Reserve Bank of India is standing, signed by the Reserve Bank governor. And if somebody denies that currency note, he will be put behind bar. He will not get any bail. It's an unbailable offense, because government is standing behind that currency. It's a promissory note by the government. What is written in dollars note? US dollar note? It's a legal tender for all debts, public and private. So it is not a promissory note. And you see your dollar note yourself. I'm not cooking something. It's fact. So they have given that because it's a legal tender. It's printed by a private bank. The American Treasury Secretary signs that. Couple of people asked me question in United States when I did the program of this book, because its 5th edition in Marathi was launched in US. They said, no, but it's signed by Treasury Secretary. I said, that's okay. And he said, but president is chosen, is elected. I said, yes, the president of this bank, Reserve Bank, the 3 names, the process is they give 3 names to the president of the United States, and he select one of them. That is not an election. That is a selection. I mean, there is no voting. There is nothing. 3 names come out of blue, and the 3 names were presented to the United States president, and he selects one. And then they say it's a democratic process. So we have to always think that when they call democracy can come in different size and shape. Like, you know, cholesterol comes in different size and shape. So you have to watch on democracy when they talk democracy. So this is what exactly it was pinching me for years. That how a world can be run like that. If I tell you, Bin Laden has nothing to do with 9/11. Your jaw will fall. You will say, what nonsense he is talking on Sunday morning. I would have gone to some church or some prayer or some temple or some Gurudwara, you know, where I can get a peace of mind. Why is disturbing my mind? But that is a fact. This happened on Tuesday. There was a Larry King debate on Friday. You know, I mean, US has that CNN has to have Larry King debate. In that, somebody said, we don't know who it is. It may be Bin Laden. One of the analysts said on the panel, this Friday, this happened on Tuesday, 4 days, there is no discussion. And that night, which was morning in the US, Bin Laden took the responsibility of 9/11. There were 32 people died after this who was asking inquiry of 9/11. The 9/11 Commission report, which is running in 2,000 plus pages, has very few mentions about Osama bin Laden. If he is sole responsible for this attack as Al-Qaeda, then there are several questions you have to answer. Then you have to answer why the $4 billion insurance was taken 1 week before of this demolition of World Trade Centers. What happened to that World Trade Center 7 building, which was 45-story building, which was right behind these 2 towers, which got vaporized after 8 days of this incident? What happened to that building? That building had 4 floors of Enron offices. So these are the questions. There were 2 senators died who were asking for inquiry, fair inquiry of 9/11. So 9/11 was a passport to enter in Middle East for the oil capture of Iraq and what they call Yunnan plan of making Greater Israel in the Middle East. And I'm not saying I'm against Israeli or somebody. What I'm trying to say, there are things happen in front of us. The reasons behind that are very different. Even if this book creates that kind of, curiosity, that if this incident like Ukraine war happened, why it triggered? You need to find out the reason. Otherwise, you cannot predict what will happen in future. So if that curiosity this book creates, I'll be happy. I've done my job then, I think. So 9/11, there are a lot of questions I raised in the book. And now the things are coming out slowly. Things are coming out slowly about Titanic. And I'm very glad that readers from all over the world, they send me a message, they send me an email. Oh, this has come out. I remember your book. I remember what you said on this day in this lecture. And I feel very glad. I don't feel that I'm not thinking that I'm a prophet. But I think that, okay, some small seed I tried to put, and that is growing now, which I'm very happy about, because then people will become more curious and they will make people answerable, which is very important, because as a human race, we have to survive. And we cannot survive in the hands of these puppeteers. That's very wrong. So that's why, if I tell you, Hitler has assigned an American company to manage the entire Holocaust, will you believe? You will not. You will say Hitler killed Jews, Hitler was German. Why an American company will interfere in this? They are on different, of the continents of the world. They have nothing to do with each other. But that's a fact. Hitler has given a speech before this Holocaust. I mean, they have not said that I want to do Holocaust. He was saying that I want to root out every Jew from the world. The country I win, I wanted to. So he has given a 6-phase project. He described all those phases. One is capture a country by German military. Then identify those people who are Jews. Then de-identify them. Means whatever identity they have, like driving license, social security card, passport, whatever, de-identify them. Then bring them to Germany. Put them in those Holocaust centers, which is concentration camps. Then give them alphanumeric number. Means segregate them by gender, color, even body mass index. Women, children, old people, young, this, that. And then give them a unique alphanumeric number as an ID. The ID also connects to the concentration camp they are putting. And then they should be killed. And he said, I do not have bullet to kill each one of them. Bullet is very expensive. I do not have a soldier to be engaged to kill them. So a soldier is very expensive. They should fall like flies. They should die like that, a natural death, without any extra effort. It is mentioned there. Go to the Nuremberg trial, read those papers, you will find. And that happened. Then he said, I need a professional company who will do this, because this will be monitored every day. So this is what, and he engaged an American company, and whose name the book mentions, but I will tell you since I'm on this conference. It was IBM. IBM founder was Hulorith, and the punch cards which were made for them as their ID card. If the people here who are above 60, they will understand once upon a time there was an industry punch card with holes, which is called Ali. It was given to IBM, Industrial Business Machine. And that company has conducted that project of killing 6 million people for Adolf Hitler. It is such a, you see, these are the planning efforts behind any mass scare, behind any terrorist attack, behind any things which they want to get rid of several people in the world and keep a monolithic world. And what they must be thinking. So I thought the Ghata Sutra word is for that. Ghat is not only sabotage. Ghat is, I could not find a word in English for Ghat Sutra, to be very honest with you. So I thought I will coin this word as like Kam Sutra in the world. Let me coin this as Ghata Sutra. So it is not a Ghata Sutra, it is a Ghat. Ghat is sabotage with malice intention, with a prepared plan, with every kind of things articulated, management of that sabotage is called ghat. And the sutra is the thread running. So the sutra is the same thread running against all these ghat or sabotage or whatever the incidents happen in those 100 years. And that is why it is called Ghat Sutra. So it's a sutra, it's a thread of that ghat. It's a thread considering it is still running today. You will not believe what Dr. Henry Kissinger, today I think he is 98. He is in the American politics for last 63 years. And he is responsible to establish at least 10 American presidents. He is the key. That's why I call him infrastructure. A person comes from some country, Rockefeller gives him asylum, he makes sure that he gets scholarship to study in Harvard, and he becomes Dr. Henry Kissinger. And who is responsible for Vietnam War, and he gets a piece of Nobel Peace Prize. He is responsible for killing several Vietnamese in Vietnam, and he gets a Nobel Peace Prize. See how the world operates? So these are the people who are, and they are, see, I'm not saying that we can fight with these people. We can't. Thing is, at least the first stage is to get aware. See, in India, from Upanishad and Veda times, we have certain method of analyzing or introspecting on something. And the method called Mandan, Khandan, and Sansleshan. If these words are too foreign for you, then I will explain. Mandan is the frame, what you call, I'm laying down something, some framework. That is called Mandan. So this is like writing a Ghat Sutra, I'm laying down a framework. Then you can come, if you have a study, and you can do Khandan. That means you can challenge it. And you can say, this is not the way, this is the right thing. That is not the correct thing, this is the right thing. That's what we keep on doing, and that's what we have done in Upanishad and all those. Shankaracharya did the same thing. Debates on everything. Let people talk. The other side to be heard. So we don't need to learn democracy from anywhere in the world, from any country in the world. It was there in our blood. What happened in between is forget. So, and the third is Sansleshan. Sansleshan is in simple English called synthesis. We are not part of the analysis. We go by synthesis. What I said and what Ravishankar ji said, and what is the best of both, that is called synthesis. That I will take together, and that will be a kind of theorem, or whatever you can put, that kind of theorem will be put for the people to consider. And again, the time comes, people will come with challenging that. Again it will be synthesized. So synthesis is a continuous process. And that's why the knowledge, why India has only knowledge and nothing else. Because the knowledge is purified to synthesis over some thousands of years, 10,000s of years. There is no antim, there is no one prophet, there is no one God. Because we do not believe that. How many human beings are there? They are right to believe what they want to believe. But certain thing, if you want to do study, you have to come to some agreement or disagreement. We agree to disagree is the biggest democracy. And that's what in our philosophy also, that's what in our books also. So this book I have written, which is just a framework laying down. You can challenge it. Go, but don't challenge by saying this, Some people make some, I don't believe that. Then I will ask them, who are you? And why should I believe you? Because you can't say, I don't believe. You can't discard it. You have to say, I don't believe because these are the things. And then we can debate. I'm not the last word in the world. I'm not lining, I'm not drawing a line on the stone, which nobody can erase. I don't have that kind of ego. I'm just saying this is what it is. You can challenge that, but read, find out something more. Get aware. Because one day it is going to kill all of us. It will be a monolithic society one day. You know how many crops we used to have in our childhood? At least I know. I understand 10 types of jawar and bajra and wheat and rice. Now it is going to it's very narrowed down to 3 commodities. It's corn, wheat and rice, nothing else. That's why when somebody says this is a year of millet, we have to respect that. We are trying to break that monolithic chain, which was that's why these things are traded on Dalal Street as a commodity. The food cannot be commodity. Then it will have a price tag. Then it will not be given to a person who is hungry as part of my countrymen or anybody. The interdependability matrix gets collapsed with this. And that interdependence is our DNA. That's why when I say GDP is a fraud measure because it counts service and products, right? Whatever produced in this country, whatever services are produced, it counts that and it adds up that. In the country like India, which is a society of exchange, not society of transaction, I do something for somebody because somebody has done something for me. That's the exchange. The child care service, if a grandfather is taking care of the grandson or granddaughter, it is not registered in an income tax return as child care service. It is a part of their life. How many services in India not get counted? Do you know? I give my car driver to bring, vegetables for me. I ask him to get my the clothes iron. The services and the people are intertwined. It's a society of exchange which cannot have a stupid measure of only product and services in two vertical columns, watertight compartments, and then count as GDP. If every service in India gets counted today and get registered, we find some mechanism of registering it, our GDP will be 5 times of United States. Because we are 4.5 times population of United States. People are interdependent. They are doing service to each other. Not counted because we don't have a unit of counting. We are not numbering that. See, agriculture always has agriculture times. There is a called Dhan. Dhanteras is the festival we do. Dhan is what you can see. Bhudhan, Godhan, Manushya Dhan. These are the stats. You can see that those assets, you can see that that's called sthavar. When it starts flowing, it becomes liquid, then it needs a price tag. So in industry culture, the dhan became a liquid, a stream. And that's why when it started flowing, somebody has to count that. And the measurement comes with a price tag. So industry culture has brought this liquidity, dravya. Dhan has traveled to dravya. And then in the chalan is the last worst stage of that. And in India, there is a black chalan and white chalan, both chalans. Chalans means notes. There are invisible notes and fake notes and, notes and but no notes and all kind of types are there. So this is a malice way we traveled. We will have to go back to our society of exchange and find a mechanism which will suit that. Capitalism is not that mechanism. Communism is not that mechanism. Socialism is not that mechanism. Because of the fight between capitalism and communism or capitalism and socialism, 33 countries' maps were changed in last 100 years in the world. Babar Karmal comes to Afghanistan with the support of Russia, and some America thinks, the capitalists think that they are making Afghanistan as a communist state now. I have to go and attack there. So they throw the shoulder guns, and they are caught by people, warlords, and people like Bin Laden, and their faces were turned after 9/11 to United States. So they have made continuous fight with the entire Europe. All these communist countries, they were changed, the regime changed, their map changed, somebody acquired somebody because of fighting communism against capitalism. See what happens? These three people, capitalism representing America, communism China, socialism Russia. These three thieves, I call them, they reach to the same destination because all these three countries, only 10% people have 70% wealth of the country. So what kind of ism you are fighting for? You were the same with different some twists and turns. So I'm trying to coin a term because that is called the Mata Sutra of Ghat Sutra. Mat is I have to conquer this situation. It's called Mat. So that will be a Mat Sutra which will come in 2027. There I'm trying to coin a word called familism. See, take a year in India, in any state of India. We have several, kind of festivals there. In January, and forget about the English counting, from Varsha Pratipada to the Holika. There are several festivals. All those festivals have economic exchange. Those are the micro wheels of the economy. And that is what the familism is, where the relations are there and it also transacts in economic activity. That's why our towns were, interdependability in the towns, in the rural India earlier when they were agriculture. Even in the industry culture beginning days, the people are interdependent. So let us not have, this book will give awareness. What is the solution? So for understanding the solution, you have to understand the situation first. And that's what this book describes, that where you land today. And if we keep doing this, We keep listening to these stupid people. We keep listening to follow this without understanding what we are doing. We will end up, that's what the other book I have called Aswastha Sutra, which is on Afghanistan. We will end up like Afghanistan. And that is where, we become a country of 140 crore people with as a commodity, because 140 crore is a number for the number game people. See, every person has a different desire. What is the problem in India? Why there is no domestic demand? Because out of 140 crore people, only 40 crore people can afford to buy what their need is. What is economics? Demand and supply. Demand is defined by two things. One is the need and second is the parity. Need, everybody has same need. Everybody wants to wear good clothes, eat good food. Their kids want to go to good school. Everybody needs are same. Only 42 crore people can afford it, what their need. And that is called parity. So need is the demand is need plus parity. India, we do not have internal demand because a lot of people are not in line with parity. They don't have parity. So America had the same problem some years back. What they did, they invented a mechanism of credit card system. What is credit card? You are borrowing from future. When you swipe a card, you don't have money. You don't need to have money. You are borrowing from your future, assuming my salary will come. And if it doesn't come, then I file Chapter 11. I said, I don't have money. I am bankrupt. But borrowing from future has come as a mechanism to conquer the situation when there were no parity to American. Do you want to bring that system in India, where we keep on borrowing from future? No. Someday you have to close the account. Someday you have to be responsible for your expenses. That's why the economic system of India is on exchange. It is horizontally growing. It is growing with some other people also. If I am becoming big, somebody else is growing with me. And I have no issue with that. That is called the familism aspect. So to understand the solution, and that solution may not be perfect. Again, I'm saying I'm not a prophet. I'm not a big man. I'm a small man. I will try to do my efforts, what I can do in my life. And one of the effort is making people aware, and second effort, find the solution for those, whatever. That's why to find the solution, plus it's important to understand the situation. And this is situation. And the book describes the entire current situation of this world where we are all living. And if you have, there are two theories of getting anything known. One is, I don't know what I don't know. If that acceptance you have, which any scientist will have, like Newton said, that, my knowledge is like one, that one small stone on the shore. Then the knowledge is so much like a shore, a lot of, that sand particles. Why one of the sand particle is my knowledge. That's why he said that, because he believed I don't know what I don't know. When Einstein writes E is equal to mc square, what he says? That this is assuming when the speed of any particle traveling will be not greater than the speed of light, which is 186,000 miles per second. If any object travels more than the speed of light, my theory of relativity collapses. Why he says that disclaimer? Because he knows what I don't know, I don't know. But there are few people in the world. The second theory is, if I don't know, it doesn't exist. Those are the stupid most people. They say, if I don't know, it doesn't exist then. As if they think that they are a second, generation of God. They took birth here and they understand everything. So the humbleness creates a possibility to know. And the rudeness, or if I don't know, it doesn't exist kind of attitude takes you away from finding the truth. The book also reveals that. The book also tells very humbly, I say, this is a situation I understood. You come, debate, correct, enlarge, delete, revise. But, bring the substantial proof, substantial data, bring the substantial logic and substantial beyond logic also. Because if I don't know what I don't know, if that's a statement I make, then those people need to also understand that if I don't know, I can get surprised. People don't like to get surprised. Oh, how I don't know. There was one of the economists in India whom I met and told this. He said, no, it doesn't like that. It doesn't work like that. I said, what did you do here? You're sitting in some institute and writing papers every year and publishing your paper. Have you seen how Wall Street works? No. It's just, where people talk, but it's not like that. Because they have some assumption that they are the best system. They don't know Wall Street is a mafia organization. There are mafias sitting on a very, very decent names on Wall Street. They don't know. They don't know when Lehman Brothers gets written off in the market, there were 100 other companies got floated. And the Lehman Brothers is bankrupted, but all the people who were running that company, they become billionaire in some other company. They don't know that. Then I argued for some time with that person, that intelligent economist so-called, and then I told him at the end, what you are talking, that based on the civic books, our parliament is functioning. I said, there is a floor management which is not mentioned in any civic book. There is a practical life which is not mentioned in any book, that the framework goes beyond the, right up beyond the framework of concepts. And that is how the world operates. So Wall Street is operating very differently, not that what you think. Keep teaching what you are teaching on economics. But for me, economics is not it is science. It is not an art. It is not a matter of philosophy. It is not a matter of ethics. It is a matter of science of resources. The best economist in the world is mother in Indian family, because who keeps on trying the needs and the resources in their small family world. That's what the finance minister of the country should do. We don't need lawyer as a finance minister. We need a socio-economist who can tie up the resources of this country to the need of this country. And that these are the revealing which will come if you read this book. These are the things which will come to your mind, and you might understand, and you might think that, oh, I was thinking this way. And I'm not saying you can challenge a lot of things in the books. You should. That's what I did myself. When I read 42 books, 250 books were against what I written, because I try to challenge myself to the extent, but I'm very sure it will not go beyond that. You will try to find, you will understand these are the things really happen. This is not a conspiracy. It is a fashion to call fact as conspiracy, because it suits you. You don't get exposed, and it doesn't get exposed that you don't know anything. So it is better to call it conspiracy and, hush, hush, to put the, curtain on everything. My inability to understand the world. If I'm talking today, maybe after 5 years, I come on your Satyameva Jayate platform, Ravishankar ji and Vidya ji, I might come with a different theory, because Ghat Sutra 2 is also coming. It is all about India. It will come from 1600 to 2022. Is a 422 years of Indian thing, which I'm writing, which will be published in 2025. And then a lot of things will get exposed in India also that time, including the independence movement. We see, these are the things which we'll have to do. You cannot have a programmatic history for my future generation. This is what it is, and that's it. That kind of attitude will not work by anybody. I'm not taking names. By anybody cannot, I understand. The winners write the history. I very well know why that came. Britishers have done two things to this country. One is they have demolished the interdependent society. Demolished. And for that, all those land sealing and other act they bought. And second thing, they changed the education where we did not understand what it changed. They created clerks. New education policy may change it. That is not a topic today. But I'm trying to say, things will change. We will have to question. We will have to ask what was wrong. There is nothing wrong in finding wrong in the past, so that we don't repeat. This is not dictator country. This is not a country of communism, where people will say Marx is the only God. This book, by the way, reveals one more thing. The Marx is in blood lineage with Rothschild. And I will say one more thing. Das Kapital. Rothschild has paid royalty to Marx for writing Das Kapital. Why Das Kapital was written? Friedrich Engels, it is his thought, which Marx has very well articulated. Brilliance. Marx is brilliant. I'm not saying that. But a thought has come which is against the capitalism, so that the conflict happened. Try to understand war as a business plan. Don't think war is some, stupid religion issue. That is only in India. War is a business plan. They plan the war so that they get money. Somebody makes money on war. Somebody makes very good business. War is a business which never goes in loss. War is a guaranteed profit business in the world. That's why opening a war is a very different business development plan. If you understand it that way, you will very clearly understand what I'm trying to say. All the wars, India is only stupid place where people are fighting on religion. Because religion is that puppeteer string. One of the string is religion. Other string is poverty. Third string is crime. Fourth string is drugs. Fifth is illicit, weapons. These are the strings attached which will create possibilities of war and conflict. You have to be very clear. And India, why we make leadership here? Because we are a country. That's why this book got published in Varsha Pratipada, the first day of Hindu calendar. And I said, this book is published on the first day of calendar of a community called Hindu, who never invaded anyone in last 10,000 years. And the book is about the people who are invading everybody in the world. So it's a very weird coincidence, I said, when I published this in US. So this is the thought. So this is the thought I'm trying to say. So I think almost an hour I spoke, and I'm very thankful for listening to me patiently. In between the line, apologies for the interruption, what happened. But I think I have covered what I wanted to say. I can keep talking for another 3 hours, but that is not the point. The point is to make you aware. And any questions are there, I'm more important. But I only urge, and while thanking Vidya and Ravishankar ji, I'll urge that most of the people should get this book, read this book, and I'm ready to come for debate and discussion. Because that process has to continue. When you rub your palm, the heat is generated. The energy comes from a conflict. The energy comes from a friction. And the friction, this is mental friction. We are not fighting on street. This is a mental friction which has to happen. And the purpose of book is that to create that mental pressure. And so that I'll get aware, and then I want to understand, I want to go. That's how that process should be on. That is the process of livelihood of human being. So thank you very much for making me talk on this platform called Satyameva Jayate. And to maintain your name, I'm trying to do some Satyam, which I understand in Satyam. And I hope if all agree, and if that becomes the ultimate synthesis, it will be Jayate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak ji. That was a very, very enlightening talk. Very good pick.
An eye-opener of a talk, I would say. Like Vidya ji was mentioning actually before the program, many of the things actually now I was like, what? Like actually it gave me those it changed the perception how I saw things before. So excellent talk. And now we will go ahead with the question answer session. And now you are audible, Parvati.
Thank you, Deepak ji, for the session, and it was a real eye opener. And we would actually wait for your analysis on the pre-independence. I think I would definitely go buy this book. And to all the people who have joined the session, thank you for joining. And I would request everybody to please join the Clubhouse, Satyameva Jayate.
I would go with the first questioner, Lakshmi Chichi. Go ahead.
Namaste, Deepak ji. It's a really interesting talk, and I'm really surprised to some extent. You sounded like Roseanne Barr, but yeah, let's see. You mentioned something about Federal Reserve. You mentioned that it is property held by private banks, but that's not.
Yes.
It's a federal agency, and it has got a governor's oversight on it. Plus, it has got certain states, which 12 congressional banks actually functioning in it, which is audited. So for us to say that it is a purely conglomerate of private banks, won't that be wrong? And also, my second question,
I would be happy to,
before you...
no, I would be very happy to say it is wrong, but I'm not, unfortunately. You can go to the bank and find a stakeholder list. There are some bank cartels. They are the shareholders of this bank. We change every year. And I also gone to the charter of the bank, which was passed in American Senate in 1913, and subsequent revisions of that. The Federal Reserve Bank Constitution says it is shareholding by the various banks. The governors, there are some central banks in, First National and all those, or state banks in America. State means the state as a state, not as a country. And those bank governors are also on this bank as a representative. So it's a cartel mixed with some state-owned banks and private banks. But the capital, if you see the share capital, you can go right now on the Federal Reserve thing and it's open. See, auditing is not a thing. Audit is what audit? Audit will be done for anything. For any institution, audit will be done. That doesn't prove anything. The structure, the constitution is in a way that it is a cartel of various small banks and financial institutions of all states. And in my book, if you see that time when the book was published, that time of shareholding was given in my book. So the list of banks, list of institutions who own the share in that bank. So it is not, it is, I will again repeat what I say. And I'm not saying I'm adamant, don't think that way. Because I studied that much and I've seen all the documents myself. Unless recently yesterday it has changed to a government bank, I would not agree. I would be very, it's very big stretch for me to agree, unless it happened yesterday night. But this is a privately owned bank cartel. There are several hundred banks and institutions are shareholding on that. The governor, as I said, the governor of this bank is announced by the United States President out of the 3 names given to him. And if you see the earlier governors, they were connected to various financial institutions on Wall Street, including Bernanke, including that famous man, it got off my mind, the person, Alan Greenspan. All these people who were chairman of this bank, they were from a very different financial institution. There are a lot of books on this. Federal Reserve is a cartel. It's a very different mechanism. And I have mentioned some 15 books in my book as a reference in bibliography. You can read. It is not something I invented. It is I collected data from various. So I am very sorry. I mean, I cannot agree that it is a private, it is a government bank. Thank you.
SmJ, second question.
Yeah, fair enough. That's your opinion. I respect that.
Thank you.
But it comes under federal agency. But anyway, for the second question, I wanted your take on the fact that, okay, we do agree about Vietnam. Why was Korea split? You have any theory on that?
Korea split because Stalin wanted to grab the situation which was created by US in Germany. Germany was retarding class. Stalin, see, they are the imperialists. They are the emperors. The socialism is the face of Russia. The Stalin, Lenin, they were all like emperors. They were encroaching others' land. And when they got started, they came up to the river, then America intervened, right? Because when America created a bombing on Japan, in Germany, or in Japan, the entire war dimension changed. So what was remaining is Germany is getting weakened, Japan is gone, and then the rest of the player was Russia, who were encroaching land because it was in nearby Asia. When they were the biggest thing. The reason of Cold War is Korea, nothing. I mean, one of the reasons is Korea also, because encroaching. That's why America stopped them. So it is a pure, like what China is doing today. It was a pure. That's why I say socialist, communist. The philosophies are different. The actual doings are very different. And I can keep on talking for hours on this with the examples. They want to encroach others' land. They want to encroach other people's territory and even the people. And that's what Stalin started doing after the Second World War. And see, Korea has a different, I mean, the topic is not Korea today, but basically it is an encroachment and it was stopped by US, and US US is not a saint. It was just between Russia and US because they never handed over the entire Russia to Russia. So they wanted to put their presence there somewhere in some pockets, creating some, vacuum pockets in the Asia on the Asia canvas.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So, can we argue that if Korea was not split, Korea would have been a more dominating force in this Southeastern Sea as compared to even Japan? If I put that argument, will you agree with me?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Korea could not fight these giants. See, Japan, there is a land mass and there is a structural placement also is very important, right? Japan is a country of a lot of small islands. The access, Korea was very close to Russia, and Russia is a Russian, what they call, it's a Russian bear, eating everything around it. So Korea would have been there. Definitely, I agree with you that it would have been a different balance force in Asia. But nobody wanted that. That's why our Asia was ruled by America or Russia. And now it is China again. So the America is a monster from outside for Russia. And there are inside monster in Russia, that is Russia and China, who kept on growing with encroaching others' territory.
All right, sir. We will go to the
Thank
next
you.
questioner.
Welcome.
Nivedita. Nivedita? I can't hear you. Nivedita, if you're using a headphone or something, kindly remove it. That would probably solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I removed the headphone. Good afternoon, Deepak ji. Thank you for a wonderful talk. I have two small questions.
Sure.
One is your book brings out the fact how communism was born in America, and today we see it's more of a preserve in China and Russia and all such things. Not Russia anymore, if we say. So why isn't that fact highlighted much more than it should have been, at least in India, that it was born in US? And second small question, but not directly relevant to sorry, relevant to the book's thought, but not from the book. Recently, Henry Kissinger visited China, and after a few days, a minister went missing. Do you see any link in that?
I'll answer the first question first. Communism was not born in US. Communism is a birthplace in Europe. US, see what happened, US went against communism for the own reason of capitalism. You know, it's a theory which you carry. It's a ism you carry on your shoulder as a country. US from beginning, like Ayn Rand, the writer, went to from Russia to America for what? For getting the respect for individualism. And that individualism was persisting in US from the beginning, because the US is also not a country of like India, a country of, you know, history, very big history. It's a country of outside people only. So communism, first of all, was born in Europe. Definitely it was tried very differently during Russian Revolution. Russian Revolution happened that Lenin and Trotsky, they were the hardcore communists. And I'm not saying not born means not supported in US. Rockefeller supported Trotsky very much. There is an incident in my book, if you have read. The Trotsky was going from Russia to, you know, in the Russia from after got training in Rockefeller Standard Oil Company compound in New Jersey. And the ship was caught in Canada. Canada was a, you know, a state of France, a kind of a puppet of France that time during the First World War. Then the CIA director flew to Canada, given citizenship to these people of United States, and rescued them. And then the Trotsky went to Russia. That entire incident is written in my book, referencing some other book which is there in the bibliography. So Russia, Stalin and Lenin and Trotsky, they tried the communisms, you know, a kind of, you know, you do a guinea pig, or you try out the mechanism, or you try out the philosophies. It was tried on the Russian land. And then they got rid of Tsar, which was owning 756 tons of gold that time. That all went to the Bank of England, which was owned by Rothschild. That incident also is given. So they tried there where there was a massive emperor sitting on a massive wealth. And that's what the Russia, because the Varga Sangarsha, or the class fight of communism, can happen only in place where there is one person is very rich and others are not. That's why I always get, you know, irritated with their philosophy, that their philosophy they are not able to maintain even today. Even Putin owns 0.3% of the wealth of Russia today. So in the name of socialism. Jinping owns how much we don't know, because China, nobody knows anything. China is like a black hole. So communism was not born in Europe, not been born in US. Definitely US supported communism a lot. And there are instances given in the book. Second question was about the Kissinger visit to China, and that, see, Kissinger is the first person who convinced Nixon to visit China. You know, now another book I am writing, which is called Lal Sutra on China, that has mentioned the incidents where these people landed, how America landed in China. It gives all the detail. But I'll just brief you for a minute. It definitely has a connection. We don't know until it comes out. But nobody, see, some people do not make any move without an intention. They are not like us. We are very naive and simple people. We go to our relative for some, without any reason. I talk to Vidya ji and Ravishankar ji without any reason. As a friend, I have no intention. But intentionless living is not what these people have. So everything has a message. And, you know, in China, I will put my observation and stop. Jinping, it is good that Jinping stayed there and made his, you know, regime as a till his death as a in charge of China, because then there is a chance of imploding China. If Jinping would have gone, the steam would have been released and China would have continued. If Jinping is sitting there tight, it's very good for the world, because one day that cover will blow up and China will be again get split. Tibet will be free. You see, you watch my words. It will not happen tomorrow. It will take time. The big ship takes time to sink. Remember always.
Vidya, I
Thank
think
you.
your questions were answered. Thank you. And those who are in the audience, I see there are a lot of new people today. And if you would like to ask a question, there is a hand icon on the bottom of your screen. You touch that. That is for the hand raising. We can see that we would like to ask questions, and we can bring you to the audience. So use that if you would like to come to the audience and ask question. The next one is public knowledge. PK Public. Kindly ask your question. Yeah.
Hi. This was a nice talk, and a lot of good informations were passed through to the people. Sir, I would like to ask you one thing. You were saying about the current world order.
About the
current world order.
One world order. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and what do you expect to happen? China is talking about.
Can you come again, public? I mean, the voice is very low.
Okay, I was asking what you expect to happen next. Like China is talking about changing the world order and stuff like that. So do you think Chinese banking system and Chinese military industrial complex will become the strongest in this world?
No, China is in doldrums right now. And you have entitled not to believe what I say. China's real estate has really created a huge baggage on their economy. Like a real estate bubble, you can call it. China is Jinping, and this is my prediction, means I'm not an astrologer. This is my guess or my knowledge or my reach of thought. China will implode very soon, maybe in a couple of years. China has already started showing the signs it cannot be a world power like US. The reason being why United States was a world power in last century, because somebody was trying to manipulate through US. US president became puppeteer of somebody who had one world order in their mind. First time when I used this one world order word, people in India, when the book published, they started criticizing me, what you are talking. But go and see the World Trade Tower which is raised now. The name of that tower is One World Tower. Visit that place in New York, where both World Trade Centers got collapsed and they erected a new tower now, which is called One World Tower. So One World is a concept which is on dollar note also, $1 note, which is a pyramid given and all that. And the Spanish word written below that pyramid of $1 note is called One World Order. So they wanted to bring a monolithic society. That's why the World Bank came. That's why the IMF came in picture. They wanted to have one world currency, which they tried with dollar. But you know what happened? The entire plan cannot get through. There are detours come in the life because people are still living in the world. There are some different streams of thought flowing till. So it is not an easy walk for anybody, catwalk. And moreover, the pushers or the puppeteers, they are also getting their power is also getting reduced day by day. And that's why China could progress. But China is not a one world power key time. I'm not saying India will be so soon, but definitely China will be imploding in the next few years. And you will see that what a kind of, hollow structure China was having. You will see that. China is a complete hollow from inside. Don't think their production capacity as their strength. It is no more anymore. It is not anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, public knowledge. Samir Kumar is the next one. Samir Kumar.
May I ask for a
Samir,
little
just a
bit more?
second.
May I ask for a little bit more detail, like what you think?
Sure. Follow-up is there. Okay.
Yeah.
Samir, please wait. Public, you can go. Yeah.
Yeah, Deepak ji, what do you think is what do you think are the biggest weak points of China? Is it like they don't have a democracy?
No, China don't have a
Biggest
democracy.
weakness of
No, I'm not. I think what I heard, let me repeat first so that I can answer properly. You are saying the biggest reason for China fallout is they don't have democracy. That's what thing you ask?
No, the biggest weakness.
Weakness.
yeah,
The problem
is that
China
I was asking, is that the biggest weakness of China?
Yes, that is true, because you cannot run a country of 140 crore people with dictatorship for long. People have inspirations, people have desires, people have will, and people, all get together will be a big force. The mechanism, China is not for me, China is not a communist country. China is a very capitalist country in a way, though the face is communism. And it's a dilemma they are running with dictatorship. That's the worst lethal thing together. Means the philosophy is communism, the practical approach is capitalism. The country runner is a dictator in the name of communism. So these are the things which you can progress sometime and you can make people regimented sometime. But at the end, people don't get satisfied. They don't get joy of living. See, any, cat you try to, corner, it will jump on you. Cat is not a tiger. Cat is not an assertive animal. But it will jump on your throat if you try to corner a cat after a limit. So these are human beings. So because they do not have any pressure cooker, wall where things can be released. Anybody like, Jack Ma, he talks something and he disappears. There are some journals are getting disappeared in China now. There are some real estate tycoons are getting disappeared. And you cannot keep on doing this for years together. So there is a time comes where the time has come now that China will implode. And definitely one of the reasons is not democracy, because people were not heard for 6 decades. See, the only period of China's life was a Deng to a certain extent, where people were given some, the thought-provoking, the thoughts, the thinkers, they were given some priority. Jinping is worse than Mao. Mao was the most, what you call a tyrant or a kind of a shameless leader China ever had. Forget about he was a builder of China and all that. That's okay. Whoever leads a struggle can become a leader. That's okay. But the way Mao behaved afterwards, see, impact on people and the welfare of people are two different things. Not always the leader who impact people psychologically will make good for them. And greater good is another concept which nobody has made in China. Deng given some leeway, some pressure cooker only open, where people started, breathing, and they were started saying their opinion, which he respected. But again, the Tiananmen Square happened in his life. It was last the straw on the camel bank was a Tiananmen Square, where he behaved very differently as dictator. China's issue is their country's history is very, very polylithical, and they are trying to put since last 7 decades as a monolithic society. So there is a conflict in society. China will implode for sure.
Thank you, sir. Samir Kumar, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the wonderful elaboration, Deepak ji. I just wanted to know about how do we look at the healthcare domain from this perspective, especially with the new current world order. And we've experienced a pandemic recently. And what are the forthcoming threats you look at, and how do we tackle or prevent them, utilizing and which are the market forces which would do that?
Healthcare is the second line of business after wars. Because even like it is worse than war the way they are doing, because at least wars are not connected directly to every person of the world of 7 billion population. But healthcare is. So healthcare is a definitely time bomb. The way they are treating healthcare in various countries, it is going to get definitely bust one day. And we will have to think a very different way of managing healthcare. And I'm not saying India is the country to look for that, because we have different issues of healthcare. We have different pathies, different stream running. So healthcare is a very big business. Like I said in one of the things, Arogyam Dhanasampada, what they say, I said Anarogyam Dhanasampada. The health thing is, if you don't have a good health, that is the biggest opportunity of business. So healthcare somehow got tagged with, malice business intentions. And that is the worst thing to happen. So I see healthcare going very, like they say, there will be wars on water, there will be wars on healthcare things also. A country like United States cannot provide healthcare to 30% of their population. No matter you bring Obamacare, this care, that care is not able to satisfy. Because the treatment of healthcare is through insurance companies. A doctor can, the family doctor was the right concept. A doctor can diagnose patient and treat, not an insurance company. If the business is insurance driven, it will decide this will happen, this will not happen. Then it becomes a different ball game. It's a third dimension treatment in health for healthcare by the insurance people. So that is, I think that the way it is going, it will not work. Samirji.
Yeah. Fine. Thank you. Thank you, Deepak. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Samir. Brahma, go ahead. Brahma, please unmute and go ahead.
Good afternoon. Actually, it was a very, very good session, sir. I just wanted to ask only one question regarding the de-dollarization. I am hearing news regarding this de-dollarization, whether all these globalist controllers would enable or disable this to happen, and how to overcome the challenges of de-dollarization, sir. Whether it will happen or not, that is what.
They could not make dollar as a global currency so far. But they have attached, as I said, dollar to a biggest transactional commodities like oil. So it is floating. De-dollarization, I think like what BRIC country did, that they started buying things in their own currency. The exchange of those things is that Russia is, Russia and India, say, or the BRIC countries, they started buying things from each other in their own currency. So de-dollarization, we have to wait to make that happen, because for anything to be de, there has to be some, something coming up as an alternative. There is no other currency. I mean, euro could not come as an alternative. They thought when they brought a euro of a currency of a group of countries, they thought it will be stronger than dollar. But again, then a lot of things happened. And then they were mechanisms which were in function to demolish euro. The UK went out of euro thing. There was a plan behind that. So de-dollarization is a word, can be discussed. It will be debated. It will be very interestingly, chewed on the world platform. But unless there is an alternative, de-dollarization will not happen, because it still is the biggest transaction currency in the world. And the power behind that is the massive military power of United States. So it is not so easy to do that.
Thank you, sir. Brahma, I think actually your question has been answered. Jay, you can go ahead with the question.
Yeah. So I think I have some issues with my network. So if I'm audible and stable, can let me know.
Sure.
Okay, all right. So I joined late and I was not able to listen to the entire.
Read the book.
Okay.
You don't need to read the book. You will get it entirely.
Jay, we lost you.
It's okay.
Jay?
He'll come back.
I think we lost you.
That Jay Durg? The name is Jay?
No. This is Jayadev.
Jayadev.
Okay. Jayadev, actually now we lost you, probably due to the connection. Let me know actually when you're back.
And the idea should be multipolar.
Jay, actually we didn't hear your question fully. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, I was saying, am I audible now? Am I audible?
You are.
Yes, you are.
Right. I'm saying, do you think that the unipolar world led by the US and their so-called values, is that a good thing? Do you think that there should be only one superpower and only their idea should be valid? So-called democracy.
Not at all. That is the worst thing can happen to human beings. Monolithic power is the worst thing can happen to human community. United States cannot be idol for the world living. They are not able to prove in their own country what the practice they are following, that it is helping mankind. So it's the biggest enemy of mankind is monolithic society, one world order.
Right, because I have a subsequent question also, because I'm living in Germany now, I'm in India, and I've spent quite some time in my life in Singapore. So in Singapore, what I've seen is that Singaporeans are ready to sacrifice their so-called quote-unquote liberty and freedom for the sake of good governance and rules. So in a country like India, which is multicultural and multi-religious, multiracial, do you think that we need to forego our so-called freedoms and all those stuff, freedom of speech, all those stuff, for this single vision of becoming a developed nation? I mean, building infrastructure, all those stuff. Do we need to think of a different kind of democracy from the one that West preaches?
See, India, I mean, we can, Ghatsutra 2 will talk a lot about India, but I can just brief because India is a topic which cannot be answered in 5 minutes. India needs a very different economic system first. We will have to build a system which is in line with our DNA. One of the aspects I said society of exchange. There are several other aspects. Second thing, India has been looted so badly by British that in last 70 years, we could have really built a very different society, which we lost the chance once. And now if we want to do it, it will take some years to build that. But for that, we need to have a supporting the spine of the country is their economic system, which will have to bring a different economic system in India. Britishers have left India as a system, a bureaucratic system, where that is a thick layer between the government and the people. And that thick layer, unless it is made porous or some expertise or subject matter experts are contributing their time and efforts in that layer, nothing will drill down to the common people. The funnel is very, very airtight. The funnel is very malice, and the funnel is very wrongly managed. And bureaucracy is the biggest, worst gift you can give it to your, and you can give the best gift you can give it to your enemy. So that is what Britishers have given us. Administration is the most crucial thing for people benefit and welfare. And if that is a thick skin layer kind of thing, then it will take time for people to reach the fruits. So unless, I'll stop here after mentioning this. People like us, the middle class has grown so much in last 70 years. And today, middle class is a big number. And people like us who understand this, they have to contribute to change this. We cannot be spectator in our own country. That is the most stupid situation. That I'm suffering and I'm becoming spectator for that suffering. That cannot happen. That will not go anywhere. We will have to contribute. We will have to join. We will have to create pressure groups. We will have to porous this bureaucratic layer, and we have to get what government is, and we have to tell government also what we need, not what government want to give, but what we need as human beings. So all these processes will take time to happen, but for that, at least some governance in place is a good thing right now. And India will never become a dictatorship. Will never, no matter who comes in power. The structure is so different now, it cannot work that way. Even the most powerful politician could not bring democracy for more than 18 months. So India will never become a dictatorship. There is no possibility, as I say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question will be from Vidya ji. Before that, those who are below, I just kindly remind you all to to use the link provided for buying Deepak ji's book, as well as joining our YouTube channel. And if there are any questions or anything which if you cannot actually come on to the audience, you can put it in the group chat. We can ask that for you. All right, Vidya ji.
Yeah, thank you, Ravi. Okay, so Deepak ji, 2 questions actually.
Sure.
One is basically to do with the challenges. I'm sure you must have faced umpteen challenges when you were writing this book. So on which areas did you find the challenges more, or your different experience to do with each topic, because there are so many connected topics. And the second question is that if you could throw a little bit more light on the pandemic and how that is connected, like what are the sources that contributed towards the pandemic? And yeah, these are the two questions.
Writing challenges fair to dig the information. The moment I decided to write this as a non-fiction, the responsibility went tremendously high. Because fiction has a writing liberty. I could have written anything. If people can connect, they can connect, or they cannot connect, that's okay. But when I'm writing a research kind of book, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to find the, nearby truth. I'm not saying I'm the only truth in the world. I'm ready to change anything of this book if anybody challenge with substantial evidence. But that took a big time. Second thing, there was a definitely fear in mind, and still it is growing now because it has come in English, in a global language, that it is an exposing book. If I make certain statement, people are getting shocked. There are people who will get angry also. I understand that. Because the interest will get hurt, interest will get cut. And that will be a boomerang for me. I understand that very well. So while writing, still you have to make it very objective. So writing the truth in a language which will not cut my writing rights. that was a thin line I walked on. It's like a street performer who walks on the rope. In some areas I walk like that. Because I know nobody in one life can find all 100% details of these events which I mentioned in this book, because they are very gigantic. But I tried to scratch the surface. And while scratching, I made sure that I'm writing which is in line with the structure and core and timber of that subject. And that's what the challenge, that's why it took 7 years. The pandemic is definitely a planned disaster. The book mentions all that. See, America is a country which never processes any toxic material. It is not allowed by the federal law. Even in 9/11, what happened? All the debris of 9/11 came to India, the iron debris. And we made manholes of those, melting that, that steel. So today in New York and the Queens Island, the manholes of the Suez system is made in India. We have made several manholes after the debris came to us. So like that, the viruses. See, one thing about viruses, there has to be a research on virus all the time. And that's a process of winning over viruses. So, but US never process any virus, what if possibilities or testing of viruses. So they have given that to definitely a lab in Wuhan in China. The CDC of US, Center of Disease Control, what the name of the doctor, I forgot, Palsy. What was that name of that director of CDC? They have given a 5 million aid to the Wuhan lab in Wuhan to test the COVID group of viruses. And, the mutation or the testing, whatever that stage testing goes, I'm not a chemist or I'm not a biologist, but whatever stage that development must be going, development of testing viruses, I'm trying to say, that got leaked. And that is how the COVID-19 thing. And China thought it is a good weapon to control the world. China was in hurry of becoming a superpower. America did that during oil times. They have bombarded several countries. They have killed, they have captured, all that. And China thought it can happen that way with this kind of biological weapon. The problem is, America, President Trump that time, several times he told in publicly that China virus is China virus. I called it China virus. Chinese virus, he used to say. He never put any official launch a complaint in the World Hague International Court against China. Because they knew that we have only told them to test this. So it is a kind of thing which is a hand in gloves, Because China would definitely said, why you have given it to us? That doesn't mean China should leak. But that is so intertwined. And there are companies in US which, see, pandemic is a big business plan for the companies who make, antivirus vaccines. Again, I said, healthcare, Samirji asked that question. Healthcare has become a malice-intentioned business now. Your non-well-being is my strength. If that is the approach you take in healthcare, then your being non-healthy all the time will become a stream of business which will never end for me. And then the vaccine is also mine, the disease is also mine, virus is also mine. Like those software antivirus company, they only create virus. Now that's what they say. They create virus in computer and they sell antivirus software. So it is a hand in close kind of business about pandemic. So pandemic may happen. It's a biological attack on human being. So what we means not you and me, but the world can do is to get them out of control of such countries which are malice intention like China. But in that case, they have to test in their own country, which they will not allow. So they will find some other. I don't know what it is. It is definitely a planned. It is not a conspiracy. It is a planned theory. Otherwise, how Bill Gates will speak on this in 2015 about pandemic coming in 2020? Who is Bill Gates an astrologer? Is a visionary? Is some Sakshatkari saint who you can see 5 years down the line? This all it comes out because it is a business for them, and they are all together in that. Because I think there is one theory running, and I'm not saying by proof that, but there is a thought running that world should be with some good people only, pure people only. There is no right for the poor and dependent people to live in the world because they put burden on our resources. There is a definite thought going on, and the people who hold money or the power, economic power, they try to implement that thought by some other way. Pandemic is one of that misguided missile, I believe.
Thank you, Deepak ji. Beautifully answered, as always.
Thank you. Those who are listening, if you haven't followed the club or the moderators, please do so. Our next guest will be one of the best neutral debaters on the national television. It will be on August 27. So do follow the club and do join us on the session on August 27 also. Sahas, you can ask your question. Sahas, you need to unmute your mic. There will be a mic button on the, I think he, by mistake, most likely. I'll invite him back. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
You are.
Thank you, sir. Hi, I'm Sahas. Good afternoon, sir. I wanted to know one thing. I'm pretty inexperienced and pretty young by the age, but I wanted to know this, that at times we see movies, for example, in a year, in 2023, there are over 20 movies that are going to be released on the concept of time traveling. Same we saw just before the COVID in 2019 or 18. There was so much of content that was that talked or had a theme of space. So is it only because of the market trend, or is there something else it portrays?
No, it is a market trend. It's a business. It's money-making thing. And see, these kind of curiosity-related things will always keep on coming. Na? See, when the reality becomes dull, you look for fantasies. And actually, when you find out that reality is more fantasical than actual fantasy. So this is the vicious circle, or whatever you call it, going in circle. It will keep on happening. Like something they will talk about time travel in movie, and actually somebody will invent something that time travel is possible. Because if Einstein, as per Einstein's theory, suppose some particle travels more than the speed of light, then the entire relativity collapse, the time dimension collapse, because time is related to what? To the earth revolving for us. In space, there is no time. So, these things will keep on coming. It's a market trend also, for sure. And, there is nothing wrong in that, because that is what the human intelligence is made for. To imagine, to desire, to imagine, to implement, and make the reality more fictional than the actual fiction. That is where the human mind travels. And in the side, if it is making as a side effect some business, nothing wrong in that. What we should not see, these imaginable fantasies, we should not be worried about. We should be worried about the realities which we are facing most. I mean, traveling with the current times, with these current manipulators or global imperialists, is the most difficult thing to face than the timing and traveling in time.
Yes.
Thank you, Sahas.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.
Sir, there is a question from the moderator's side. You had mentioned about Titanic being actually a planned incident. What are the circumstances that makes you feel like it is?
See, it is given in the book. Titanic accident do happen rightly. It hit the iceberg. The question arises why? When there is a person called Captain Smith, who is a very experienced captain on the ship, on the sea, at Atlantic. He was the king of Atlantic. Why he could not? Then there are certain questions when he has seen the iceberg and the tower person inform him. Why he raised the speed of the boat to 22 knots full? Why? So were there some instruction to, but why this question arises? Because there were 3 people on Titanic who died. See, Titanic, entire chapter is there. I will not go to chapter, you should read in the book. But the 3 people died in the Titanic were opponent of Federal Reserve establishment. And Titanic company was owned by JP Morgan, who is the architect of Federal Reserve Bank, one of the architects. And that tells me a lot. Those 3 people died on Titanic. One is the Guggenheim, who was the biggest mine, king of United States, very ethical businessman, John Jacob Astor and Isidore Straus. One of them was senator, one of them was owner of Macy's, and one of them was established the first trust in the United States. They were the strongest opponent of Federal Reserve establishment. And with them, when they got sank with Titanic, the opposed to Federal Reserve came down drastically. And next year, Federal Reserve came in picture. Like there is some circumstantial things which you have to look for. Titanic definitely sank because of it hit the iceberg. There is no doubt. I'm not saying that it broke and all that. I'm not saying some fantasy. But why? It has to hit the iceberg. The iceberg is not there, which was, just came up in previous month of that incident. It was there for all the years. It was well known to the people who were traveling on that Atlantic. So that is where it becomes Titanic. Titanic was the first kind of terrorist attack. And Titanic was responsible for getting that Federal Reserve Bank clearance in American society. Because Guggenheim, Isidore Straus, and John Jacob Astor were the strongest voices of ordinary Americans. Ordinary Americans trusted them. After Federal Reserve came in United States, the entire American texture has changed. Texture of living. Great Depression also is a planned attack like Titanic, which sucked all the money from reserving money from America. And then the credit card system started falling. Because we did not have money, we did not have parity. And then we have a mechanism to address the parity issue. So it is very well intertwined. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last question from my side, at least. You mentioned about how the oil is pegged with the dollar. You mentioned that, and that is one of the most important thing that actually now America keeps in their hand. Whomever has raised actually questions about changing it has either even a Saudi king, even if you didn't mention, a Saudi king also had tried to mention it, and he was also replaced. Now India is pushing for having rupee everywhere and dealing in currency, even with oil, even with Russia. Actually, India is trying to have rupee as the exchange currency. Do you think that would make India a target, or even our politicians like our honorable Prime Minister a target for the?
Yeah, if we go this way for next 20 years, then we will be target because our size is very tiny. See, Indian rupees is not a parity. Indian rupee is not, is not exchangeable currency yet. What we are trying to do, we are trying to get in our own currency with some other military deals with Russia. S-400 system we brought against America's oppose. And in that goodwill, we try to get oil from Russia in rupees, because otherwise you have to expend you have to spend your foreign reserve. So, but India will not be of that size as far as the currency power goes. It's still very, very tiny. India is a big country, no doubt, of 140 crore people. But as I said, the 2/3 of the population doesn't have parity. So the currency impact is very tiny in the world. Like I'll give a comparison. This book talks about, say, I give a metaphor. This book is talk about Dawood Ibrahim. And India is like some pickpocketer in some lane. In that world arena yet. So impact नहीं होगा उसका. It will be एक significance होना चाहिए ना तुमको. If you want to kill somebody, the person whom you want to kill should have some significance. It will be a future threat. It is a growing thing.
We try to replace USD in terms of Indian rupee for the whole exchange of oils.
It will definitely,
like that is
no, yeah. But by that time, you need to have the control over the world oil reserve. Why American dollar came to there? Because the entire technology of, exploring the oil is American. It came in Texas first. So when they did that's what Nixon did the dollar game, na? In exchange of the technology, that time to these Arabs. See, Arabs and Persians are two different tribes. Arabs are stupid. The Persians are different. They are like octopus. Because it's a culture. Na? The Arabs have no that big long culture like Persian. They are very different. So they got exchanged very easily with the Nixon deal of dollar game. They got all exporting technology, everything. America has given them free-handed everything because they know they are not like Chinese who will copy-paste it and use it as their own technology. Arab cannot copy-paste like China technologies. F-16 का इंजन चुरा के लेके जाएंगे और खुद का फाइटर जेट बनाएंगे. ये चाइना कर सकता है. Arab cannot do that. So they have been manipulated very well. That's why all the Middle Eastern people, they have very big assets in the United States. They have been given a lot of deal happen. One of the things which I could not find I could find the proof, but I could not mention in the book, which I will say, but I mentioned one line. After 9/11 Tuesday, Thursday, there is one plane only allowed to flew out of America, and that was a Saudi Arabian plane. And a lot of landlords of Saudi Arabia went in that plane to Saudi. So, they have different relationship from the Nixon time. All American presidents are different. So that's why one day will come India, but for that, India's rupees parity has to go very high. And for that, we need to be Atmanirbhar, to be honest. We need to get the product for our own money in India first.
That actually gives me another question. Actually, now when you were mentioning about the monopoly, for the future, it is said that actually the batteries would become the future. Lithium batteries, for example, electric cars and all. Now, as per the findings today, India has the largest reserve of lithium, which is discovered recently in Kashmir. Would that actually give us an opportunity to control a commodity like that with the Indian rupee and position it, or will it make actually a greater pressure on us to deal it with any other currency?
See, like Arab people have oil, the exploring, the technology, converting that to a product, which is where the technology lies, right? Do India has that ability today? No. Lithium stocks are different than using it for battery. And it is not the technology we don't have. So we have to import technology from somewhere. Or we have to learn.
At the moment, this is China.
China? But China is trying to take the entire China. See, after pandemic, China is weakened, to be honest, on the world platform. Because the way they were going in Middle Central Asia, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan and all that, they would have definitely gone control over the lithium in Afghanistan. But the moment America withdrew the troops, the entire Afghan became a very different dynamics now. Even China is not able to pass their road through because Afghan, the gangs are attacking that. They are killing their engineers and all that. So China, Pakistan is another rotten country. So China finally got in trap of their own thing, which they wanted to they shook hand with these Afghan Taliban and Pakistan terrorist various groups. And for that, they even oppose India. And now they are in trap. Because they are not listening. They are the monster came out of the water. And nobody has mantra to get them in again. So China is very badly trapped there. China could have gone their hand on Afghan lithium, then the things have been different. Because China is master in copy-pasting technology. China must have technology there. India, I still doubt. I don't know, maybe happening. Some people in India, like the big powerhouses, industrial powerhouses, may be trying that. There is no doubt. But exploring that entire lithium and make a world hub of electric car batteries is a long process. And definitely world will not look steadily to that. They will create some other problem in some part of the country like Hambantota. They will create a problem in some area like Maldives. They will create some problem in Kashmir. So now you see for one election, the entire world is uniting. And these forces are uniting for the 2024 election right now. All fake things are coming out. So that's how they will, and that is struggle. See, you are walking on a path where this all is inevitable. So you can't excuse of that. The leadership should be strong and we should be very aware. That's the only solution.
Completely understood. Even Brahma had commented about the deaths happened by visiting the Titanic also. Quite unfortunate. But you don't think any conspiracy out because very important people died in that.
No. There is definitely a reason. After 100 years, if that is hitting people, that means there is something else which is coming out. That's why I request everybody to watch that. There is a conspiracy that Titanic was that documentary. Then you will understand what the fake news is, where it's created. They own 472 channels, Rupert Murdoch, of the world television channels. So they know how to pass the message. See, the mechanic, like our channel, what you are running now, Satyameva Jayate, why I respect, because these are that small, tiny efforts to get out of those propaganda machinery, right? Against that. So we are small, so we are safe. Take it that way.
Vidya, go ahead.
Yeah. Deepak ji, there's actually a question by another listener of ours, Vijay Patil ji. He has asked, this is not connected to the book, but what do you think about aliens and UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomenons? Like when you were doing research with your book, have you come across material on this?
Yeah, I'm still scratching the big head of some reality around me on the earth. So going out of orbit is, I think I need a next life for that.
Even actually now Vidya ji, what she asked actually makes sense because recently a military man who was close to the America actually has revealed it has actually UAP materials with the US.
No. That's a reality happening. But thing is, this is a constant power struggle. See what they say. Your strength becomes your weakness at some point in life. Your strength of innovation, which United States has, the structure they have for research and innovation, that is becoming weakness now. Because you get so much information and then you don't try to share, keep it hush-hush. One day it leaks. It is like collapsing in their own weight. Like Chandrasekhar Limit said. So I am very interested in those topics, what is raised, unidentified object and aliens. But कितना 24 घंटे का दिन है मेरे पास तो how much I can spend on that.
Very true.
Deepak ji, phenomenal work. I mean, your book is, I'm really praying that more and more people will understand the importance of this book and they take effort and read it. And, at some point of time, I'm hoping you're able to bring it out as, as a series or because I don't think one movie will be able to do justice to it.
No.
It's a series I think you should, consider at some point of time. A request.
Thank you for doing this. Let us lead to the more
we are
people.
really happy to have you here. It's been a pleasure and it's an eye-opening of a session. As well as it is now I have more interest because more books are coming up, especially with the Indian history and a few centuries of Indian history and incidences like this. So really appreciate your time. And I request the listeners to buy the book and get awareness. And if there are any differences, come forward with it. If you study, you will have more points and to come forward.
More than.
Thank you, Deepak ji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good time. Good Sunday.
Satyameva Jayate Nandritam Satyena Pantha Vitato Devayanaha Yena Kramantya Rishayo Hyaptakama Yatra Tat Satyasya Paramam Nidhanam. Truth alone triumphs, not falsehood. Through truth, the divine path is spread out. Through this path, the sages who have conquered their desires completely attain the supreme treasure of truth.